welcome. My name is Rick Ortiz, President and CEO of the Greater Dallas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to our first episode of the GDHCC Podcast, where we bring you inspiring stories from trailblazers and innovators in various industries. Today we have the pleasure of hosting with us our very special guest, Mr. Pedro Lerma, the CEO and founder of Lerma, a cross-cultural advertising agency that's making waves in the industry. Pedro, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. So Pedro, your journey is truly inspiring. You're at the forefront of cross-cultural communication, fostering a world that values and cherishes every culture. Can you tell us a little bit about how your background influenced your vision and led to the creation of Lerma?
So my parents are from Mexico. I was born here in the US, but I always felt a sensibility about representation and wanting to make sure that we as Hispanics or Latinos showed up where we needed to be in high-profile business leadership or in government or in film or in arts. And so as an advertising agency, I have the ability to help shape perception around our community, and I take that very seriously. It's important to me to really elevate our community.
And that's very impressive, and thank you for all you do, by the way. Lerma has quickly risen to prominence, winning titles like Advertising Age's Small Agency of the Year in 2022 and 2023, and being named a standout agency on their A-list. And let's not forget you were named Agency Executive of the Year in 2024. What's the secret?
Well, I guess I would start with my gratitude about all of that. I am incredibly grateful for those accolades. I'm humbled by them, but I always feel like I need to share those accolades with the people around me. I have a great team of people that work for me, and for the most part, I feel like most days I just have to get out of their way. They're great at what they do. I provide some guidance. I provide a vision for where we need to go as an agency, but the people around me in my team and our clients, I'm just grateful to have them around.
Yeah, just get out of the way, huh? Sometimes it's the best thing you can do, and I hear you. I hear you, because sometimes I do get in the way, and then I slow things down, right? We don't ever want to do that. So in 2023, you launched MEL, and help me out here.
I'll help you. Messiano, Edelman, Lerma.
Okay. A public relations agency designed to deepen engagements with the Hispanic community through earned media. What was the inspiration behind this initiative?
So Edelman is the world's largest public relations firm, and Richard Edelman reached out after our first Small Agency of the Year recognition, and he wanted to launch a Hispanic-focused PR and earned media practice. And I felt like, with Edelman being the world's largest, they have all of the firepower that you would ever need. What they needed was some real authentic connection to the Hispanic community. And so I saw an opportunity in that. And I reached out to Luis Miguel Messiano. He is a creative legend in the Hispanic advertising space. And he was at a time when he was making a career change also. And so I convinced him that by doing this and combining forces with Edelman, we could really help lift up the community. For years, Luis Miguel and I have had a lot of success in what I would say the advertising side of our business, where we're talking at the community and making authentic connections on behalf of brands. But with earned media, we really felt like that was an opportunity to get into our communities, create programs that truly do lift up the community, and then tell the stories about them. And so it's something that's really important to us personally, and we're really excited about it.
And would you say that having that personal connection, is that what makes a difference? Is that what really you think helps the success?
Absolutely.
These kinds of initiatives, yeah?
Absolutely. I've been there. I've felt the way many of those in our community have felt. Often maybe felt like I was unqualified or underqualified to try to do something, and someone inspired me or encouraged me, if nothing else, just to take a chance, right? To put myself out there in a way that, yes, is risky, but it's also where rewards come from. And so we want to do everything we can to lift up that community.
Well, that's great to hear, and very inspiring, by the way. Aside from your professional achievements, you're also dedicated to giving back, like you were mentioning. You serve on numerous boards, including the United Way of Metropolitan Dallas, Catholic Charities of Dallas, and the Hispanic Marketing Council. Can you tell us a bit more about your involvement in these organizations?
Well, when I grew up in the U.S., I grew up in Wichita Falls, Texas, and my father was a concrete construction worker, so we didn't have a lot of extra anything, right? I wouldn't say that we were super poor, but we also weren't, privileged. And so there were many occasions where I would encounter a nonprofit like the Salvation Army, which is now a client of ours. And I appreciated that they helped us in one way or another. They did it without judgment. And that was their form of helping lift up the community. And so I've always felt an obligation to give back. I feel fortunate for the opportunities that I've had. And to me, it's important to try to offer those opportunities to other people as well. And so nonprofit work is really important to us as an agency. It's important to me personally, but as an agency, we also believe in giving back. In fact, our agency vision is to channel creativity for good. And what that means to us is several things. It means for any one of our clients, of course, we need to do good by them. We need to help them meet or exceed the business metrics that they're being held to. But we also feel like with our work, everybody that encounters our work, we want that encounter to, in one way or another, enrich their lives. And so for a brand like Avocados from Mexico, if we can do something as simple as put a smile on your face, we believe that is channeling creativity for good, and that enriches your life. For a client like the Home Depot, if we provide you value or utility, and that means that you can take on a home improvement project this weekend that maybe you couldn't afford before, we believe that will enrich your life. For the Salvation Army is another example. If we can get you to be more philanthropic, either with your time or with your money, we believe that that will enrich your life. And for a client like He Gets Us, the Jesus campaign, we feel like if we can get somebody to stop what they're doing, consider their faith, consider wanting to be a better person and walking in the example of Jesus, we believe that will enrich your life. And so we're grateful for the opportunity to do that, but it really is, it's a chance to do what we do in a way that also gives back in a meaningful way.
Wow, that's incredible, and that's also very inspiring. And something you said right off the bat is your dad. You said your dad was in concrete, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the concrete business, so in the construction side of things. So how did you get involved in what you're doing? I mean, what was the connection there like?
Sure. When I graduated high school, my friends were going off to college, and so I thought, I guess I should go to college. We didn't know anything about the different universities and what specialties might exist where. We never did any campus tours. It was as simple as I filled out an application. I sent it into Midwestern State University, which was the school in Wichita Falls. I was accepted, and so I started going to college. But we couldn't afford it either, and so I worked 2 jobs most of the time. I worked 2 jobs in the mall, and then one summer I also worked with my dad, and it was my uncle's company, and so they let me work a summer. So I had 3 jobs during that time, and I came to realize that was real hard work, and it wasn't work that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so while I was doing that, I tell people, with 3 jobs, you might think that gave me a work ethic that would allow me to excel in school. But the truth was, for me, school was more of a social experience than it was an academic experience. And I ended up dropping out of college. And when I did, I went to work for a radio station selling airtime. So I went around town selling 30-second radio spots to the local furniture store or car dealership. And through that, I met a guy who owned an advertising agency. So I would call on his agency. And we came to like one another. And one day he asked me if I would come to work for him. And I thought that was a great idea. I'd come to really like him and the environment he created. It was a creative environment. And so I felt like that was a place where I could call home. And I learned a lot and learned everything I could about brand building, media planning and buying, strategy, creativity. And it really set me up to have a successful advertising career. It wasn't until much later in life that I went back and was able to finish my degree, which was important to me.
But that's interesting, and that's good for that. I think for all of us to hear, because not everybody has that traditional road to get to that successful stage in their life, or whatever we define as success that is. But it's the work to get there, the experience, the journey. I guess would you say was that sort of? And when you were in that environment, did you feel it started to come natural to you, or did you feel a connection to the work you were doing?
I did. It felt like the place where I belonged. I don't think I could have thrived as much in a more corporate type of environment. The creative environment felt right for me.
Oh, so kind of in some ways, it's almost like you kind of stumbled into that.
I did.
And before you know it, here you are today. That's incredible and truly commendable. That being said, now as an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who want to make a difference with their work?
For me, that's an easy question to answer because I get asked that question a lot. We have university students that come to the agency for tours, and that happens several times a year, and they always ask me, what do you think I should study? What do you think I should focus on? And my answers are always the same. I believe young people should focus on learning leadership and becoming a lifelong student of leadership. I consider myself still a student of leadership. And I tell people there's a difference between leading and managing. I think managing can be done almost mathematically. If you can manage a to-do list, a calendar, a budget, and a list of resources, you can manage. But leading is about creating a vision and getting people to buy into that vision, to see themselves succeeding in that vision and achieving something greater than you could individually. And the other thing I tell people to study is communication. And the reason for that is I've seen lots of really brilliant people who struggle to communicate their ideas, and as a result, they don't go as far in their careers as they could. And at the same time, I've seen people who are not as brilliant, but they're great communicators. They can get their point across clearly and concisely, and as a result, you see them rise to the top within organizations. And so, to me, those are two really important things to study. And then the last thing I say, it's really not about studying. It's about taking risks earlier in your life. So when I was in my 20s, some friends and I decided to open up a bar together. And so that was my first real entrepreneurial experience. We ended up selling it, and it's still open in Wichita Falls. And when I go visit, we will often go there.
What's the name of the bar?
It was called the Beer Garden. It's called the Iron Horse Pub now.
Oh, nice.
But the other part of it is, interestingly, my real entrepreneurial journey didn't start until 3 years ago. And that's because I was in a unique situation within the Richards Group family of companies where I was allowed to run a business, but I didn't have the risk that's associated with starting a business on your own. So I had essentially a safety net of a company that backed me. And when we became independent 3 years ago, that's really when I took on all of the risk. And luckily, I'd learned a lot and forged lots of relationships that made that step a whole lot easier. But I wish I had been able to take that kind of a risk much earlier in my life. And the stakes are much less when you're younger than when you're older. When you're older, you might own a home, you might have a family, you might have other obligations, and so those risks take on much more heavy weight compared to when you're younger.
Yeah, but the fear is always the same, I'm sure.
It
right?
is.
It is. So let's move into one of our new portions of the segment here. It's called rapid fire questions. Okay, and I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions here. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What's a memorable piece of advice you received that you still think about today?
This is an interesting one. I would say it's let people leave with their dignity. And this comes from having to fire someone. I had a boss of mine, a guy named Dick Mitchell, who, early in my career, and I had to let somebody go. And he said to me, you need to know that this is the worst day of this person's life. And you need to do everything you can to let them leave with their dignity. And that was meaningful to me. And it's advice that I continue to give other people in that same situation. You know, it's not a pleasant situation, but I can tell you, as a result of me really embracing that idea, I have had numerous people who I've had to part with, who have later become clients or are still friends of mine. And I think a lot of it is because of the way I treated them, even on their way out.
It's a great point. It kind of goes along with the don't burn your bridges, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So next question, do you have a favorite quote or motto that you live by?
I guess I don't. You know, I guess I want to say that I'm an optimist, and so when I think about that, I think of si se puede, right?
There you go.
And you know, I was a big fan of Obama, so yes, we can. And you know, I really am grateful that I'm an optimist. You know, I have faced my fair share of challenges, but I have found ways to look on the bright side or look for opportunity within those challenges. And so I think that's probably a phrase that I live by.
That's a pretty good one. What drives the innovative approach at Lerma in cross-cultural communication?
I guess I would go back to when I started in digital. So digital was really the first company, a digital company that I built within the Richards Group family of companies. And I used to think about it as digital is changing so much that if I didn't learn something new every day, that was a day that I was starting to fall behind, and I never wanted to fall behind. So I was always learning, always innovating, always willing to fail and find, you know, ways to succeed anyway. And so I've taken that essence, that DNA, and I've applied it to Hispanic marketing or cross-cultural marketing now. And innovation is critical to us. We continue to innovate with the way that we look at audiences. We continue to innovate with the way we generate creativity through things like generative artificial intelligence. We created a model that helps generative AI create more multiculturally representative images, because when we first started experimenting with it, what you would get back were very stereotypical images. If you typed in a prompt for a Hispanic male, you would get, you know, a dark-skinned male with a sombrero and a bigote, and so we went in and really modified those models, and we made those models available to anybody because we just felt that strongly that that the bias in AI needed to be combated, and so we took it upon ourselves to do that.
Wow. Has AI just changed the industry completely, would you say?
I wouldn't say completely. I think it stands to change it a lot. And a lot of people are afraid of AI. I myself am really excited about AI. Again, going back to the optimist in me, you know, I believe that artificial intelligence, and I actually, I heard somebody use this phrase and changed it from artificial intelligence to augmented intelligence. And so the way I look at it is, if you have a really talented strategist or creative with AI as a tool, compared to somebody who is less creative or less strategic with that same tool, the output is still going to be very different and arguably better from the creative or the strategic person. And so it really is an augment to our own talents more than it is a replacement for what we do.
Well, thank you for joining us today for this very first edition of our GDHCC podcast. And before we wrap up, I would like to I'd like to invite all of you to join us at our 85th anniversary gala on October 4th, 5:30 p.m. at the Hilton Anatole Hotel Chantilly Ballroom. For more information about this gala event, where you will see Mr. Lerma, our padrino. Thank you for being our padrino, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
For more information, go to our website at www.gdhcc.com. We have tickets and we have tables available. So we hope to see all of you there. And thank you again, Pedro, for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure.